The move won't come with the fanfare of a royal herald. No trumpets blasting from the Tower of London. No grand announcements splashed across every front page. Instead, it's going to arrive the way a knife arrives in the dark. Cold, quiet, and devastating. A court order delivered in a plain manila envelope. No ribbons. No ceremony. Just finality. Behind the heavy oak doors of the palace, a decision has already been reached. And this decision will effectively rewrite the future of the British monarchy for the next 100 years. Prince William, the man currently standing as the next in line to the throne, isn't just preparing for his eventual coronation. He is actively cleaning house. And at the top of his list are his own flesh and blood. His own niece and nephew, Archie and Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor. According to those standing closest to the inner circle, this isn't some petty act of sibling rivalry. It isn't a bargaining chip in a long-standing family feud. No, this is a constitutional surgical strike. A move intended to cauterize a wound that has been bleeding the House of Windsor dry for years. But why now? The timing feels calculated. Almost predatory. While Prince Harry wages what many call a furious media counteroffensive from his mansion in California, Netflix specials, leaked text messages, tell-all books, William is playing a much longer game. He isn't interested in he-said-she-said interviews or flashy documentaries that disappear from the charts in a week. He is interested in the preservation of an institution that is over 1,000 years old. The line in the sand hasn't just been drawn. It's been turned into a fortress wall. This is the story of a future king who has decided that the time for peace offerings and olive branches has long since passed. The era of accountability has arrived. And the consequences for the Sussexes are about to become very real and very permanent. My dear viewers, if you are enjoying this video and want to see more updates and insights, don't forget to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel Windsor Insiders so you never miss out on the latest news and discussions. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this story. You can almost feel the temperature in London dropping as the palace prepares for what many are calling the final separation. To understand why this is happening, you have to understand the invisible threads of power that hold a royal identity together. A title like Prince or Princess isn't just a shiny badge to be worn at parties. It's a legal designation, governed by a century-old document known as the 1917 Letters Patent. Back then, King George V was trying to slim down the monarchy during the chaos of World War I. He wanted to ensure that only the most direct descendants held the status of Royal Highness. For years, these rules were seen as a formality, a dusty technicality. But today, they've become a weapon in the hands of a man who values duty over blood. When Archie and Lilibet were born, they didn't automatically get those titles. Why? Because they were the great-grandchildren of the Queen. Not close enough. It was only when Charles took the throne that they technically became the grandchildren of the sovereign. And in a move that many insiders saw as a preemptive strike, Harry and Meghan chose to use those titles immediately. Almost as if they were trying to lock them in before someone could change the locks on the palace gates. But the Sussexes didn't just want travel documents. They wanted Her Royal Highness titles printed clearly on them. This wasn't just about identity. It was a move to ensure that when Archie and Lilibet grow up, they have the legal standing to demand a piece of the royal pie. For William, this was the absolute last straw. He saw it as a Trojan horse. A way for a branch of the family that has publicly trashed the monarchy to keep a back door open for future commercial ventures. Sources say there is bewilderment and even anger in royal circles that Harry would try to claim the rights of an organization he's worked so hard to bring down. William has reportedly made it clear there will be no royal roles for them. Not now, and certainly not when he wears the crown. But that wasn't even the most shocking betrayal to come to light. If you think this is just about legal technicalities, you're missing the darker undercurrent of this story. William's resolve didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was forged in the heat of what he views as a total betrayal of the family's charitable legacy. One of the most explosive allegations involves Sentebale, a charity Harry co-founded to help children in Africa living with HIV and AIDS. This was supposed to be Harry's crowning achievement, his way of carrying on his mother's torch. It was the one part of his life that even his harshest critics respected. But according to investigative writers like Tom Bauer, things behind the scenes were far from noble. There are claims that staff members from Harry and Meghan's new venture, Archie, were actively trying to redirect donors away from Sentebale and toward their own non-profit. Imagine the optics of that for a moment. A potential donor ready to give money to children in desperate need in Africa. Children dying of AIDS. And someone from the Sussex camp telling that donor to instead send the cash to a startup nonprofit in California. A nonprofit that covers the lifestyle of two of the most famous people on the planet. It's an allegation of self-sabotage that has sent shockwaves through the royal household. When the head of Sentebale, Sophie Chundorka, allegedly tried to conduct a full financial audit to see why Harry's friends were receiving massive six-figure salaries from the charity's funds, she was reportedly met with immediate hostility. Harry's camp allegedly painted her as an enemy, someone trying to dismantle his life's work. For William, who has dedicated his public life to high-impact projects like the Earthshot Prize, this was an absolute disgrace. He sees the royal platform as a tool for soft power and service, not a personal ATM. This alleged financial treachery became Exhibit A in William's case for why the Sussexes can't be trusted with even the smallest link to the crown. But the friction isn't just about money or legal documents. It's deeply, painfully personal. Within the palace walls, there are stories about Meghan that the public is only just beginning to piece together. There's a specific focus on her relationship, or lack thereof, with Princess Charlotte. Two incidents have become legendary in the men in grey circles. The first happened on the balcony of Buckingham Palace during Trooping the Colour back in 2018. A very young Charlotte lost her balance. She took a tumble while the family stood before the crowds. The rest of the family reacted with a natural human sense of worry. But video footage appeared to show Meghan and Harry laughing in the background. Defenders called it a harmless moment, a brief slip. But the Wales family saw it as something else entirely. A flash of what some have termed a real mean girl spirit. It was a glimpse behind the mask. And what they saw was a shocking lack of empathy for a young child who could have been seriously hurt. Then came the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. A moment of global mourning. Intense gravity. Yet multiple cameras caught what appeared to be Meghan glaring at Princess Charlotte with a look that many described as cold and even malicious. One prominent royal observer, posting under the name Meghan's Mole, even went so far as to say the jealousy and hatred directed toward the young princess was off the charts. When you're a parent like William or Catherine, you can forgive a lot of things. You can forgive a tell-all book. You can even forgive a Netflix documentary. But the moment you start aiming that vitriol at their children, you've crossed a line from which there is no return. For William, the removal of the titles isn't just about protecting the institution. It's about protecting his daughter from a branch of the family that seems to harbor a strange, deep-seated resentment toward her. And as many have noted, this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern of behavior that goes back to the very beginning. This pattern seems to stretch back even further, long before Meghan ever stepped foot in a palace. Look at the way she handled her own father, Thomas Markle. For years, the narrative was that Meghan was the heartbroken victim of a father who sold her out to the paparazzi. She even wrote a letter saying her heart was torn into 1,000 pieces. But new information suggests a much more cynical reality. Evidence has surfaced linking Meghan to Jeff Rayner, the photographer from the agency that staged the pictures of her father. It turns out she had worked with Rayner years prior during her time on the show Suits. The theory gaining traction is that the entire scandal was a trap. A way to justify cutting her father out of her life entirely while maintaining the moral high ground in the media. If she could do that to her own flesh and blood, to the man who raised her, what would stop her from doing the same to the Windsors? To William, this showed a level of media manipulation and personal ruthlessness that was completely foreign to the royal culture of loyalty. He saw how she allegedly lured her father into a trap, knowing that the scandal that followed would let her control the public narrative. The royal family, which is based on the idea of family loyalty, simply couldn't understand why someone would do anything so Machiavellian to their own father. It confirms their worst fears, that the Sussexes' departure wasn't about seeking privacy or seclusion. It was about making money off their status without any of the limits or the duty that comes with it. William sees this pattern and has decided there is no basis of confidence left. The trust has been damn near obliterated. But that wasn't the whole story. While the public sees the glamorous side of the Montecito life, the ocean views, the celebrity neighbors, the multimillion-dollar estate, the reality behind the scenes at Archie is reportedly much more chaotic. There has been a revolving door of staff, top executives and advisors fleeing the Sussex ship at an alarming rate. Just recently, high-level aides who were brought in to save the brand lasted only months before resigning. Rumors of a difficult work environment, one that mirrors the 2018 bullying allegations that the palace reportedly investigated, have resurfaced. One former staffer allegedly described the atmosphere as soul-crushing, where loyalty is demanded but rarely returned. For William, this internal instability is a sign that the Sussexes aren't building a legacy. They are building a house of cards. He's watched as they've burned through connections in both the royal and corporate worlds. And he's decided that the crown shouldn't be the safety net when it finally collapses. Then there's the issue of the commercial pivot. Meghan's new lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, was supposed to be the next big thing. A Martha Stewart-style empire that would cement their financial independence. But the rollout has been described by many as underwhelming and even desperate. Instead of high-end luxury goods, the world was treated to pictures of strawberry jam and dog biscuits. There is a jarring contrast between a woman who holds a duchess title and a woman selling homemade preserves on Instagram. Critics have pointed out that the royal magic is losing its luster when it's attached to kitchenware. For the palace, this is the ultimate commercialization of culture that William feared. He sees the title being dragged into the mud of influencer marketing, and he wants no part of it. He's reportedly told advisors that the Sussexes are cheapening the brand, and every jar of jam sold is another reason to strip them of their official status. The shift in William's attitude can also be traced back to a deeply emotional place: the health of his wife. During Catherine's 2024 health journey, the world watched as she stepped back from public life to focus on her recovery. It was a time of immense vulnerability for the Wales family. Yet during this period, the Sussexes' silence, or their leaked messages of support, felt more like PR moves than genuine family concern. William reportedly saw this as kicking them while they were down. He became fiercely protective, realizing that his wife's peace was more important than maintaining a facade of family unity. He doesn't just see Harry as a rogue brother anymore. He sees him as a source of stress that his wife simply doesn't need. This was the moment the Iron Crown was truly forged. William isn't just protecting an institution. He's protecting a woman he loves from a source of constant, unnecessary drama. And while the Sussexes are being frozen out of the traditional royal strongholds, they've started a Commonwealth pivot to places like Nigeria and Colombia. These quasi-royal tours are seen by the palace as a direct challenge to the king's authority. Harry and Meghan are acting like a rival royal court, holding meetings with world leaders, taking part in official ceremonies without any of the oversight or the diplomatic mission of the UK government. It's a dangerous game of shadow royalty. In Nigeria, Meghan was greeted as a princess by locals, a title she leaned into despite no longer representing the British sovereign. For William, this is a constitutional nightmare. He sees a branch of the family that is free to make its own foreign policy, potentially embarrassing the UK or causing diplomatic friction. It's a move that has only accelerated his plan to cut the cord once and for all. The reaction from the Australian public during the recent retreat controversy was just the tip of the iceberg. People are starting to ask why they should pay for the security and lifestyle of a couple that has publicly disowned their duties. The petition in Australia, which garnered over 35,000 signatures, was a clear signal that the Sussex magic is fading in the Commonwealth. People are no longer blinded by the celebrity. They are looking at the balance sheet. When Meghan was reportedly heard complaining on their original royal tour that she should be getting paid for this, she didn't realize that she was already being paid in the form of public trust. Now that the trust is gone, she's finding that the pay-to-play model is a lot harder to maintain than she thought. Charging $2,300 for a gala dinner might work once, but it's not a sustainable way to lead a life of service. While Meghan focuses on her branding, Harry seems to be battling a more personal crisis, one that is being documented by every paparazzi lens in California. Observers have noted a massive change in his demeanor. He often looks bitter, angry, deeply defensive, but perhaps the most talked about change is physical. There's a stinging irony in Harry's alarming baldness. That exact phrase, alarming baldness, he famously used to describe his brother in his autobiography Spare. In that book, he took several shots at William's hair loss, even said it was more advanced than his own. But as we head into 2026, Harry is facing the same genetic fate, and the public sympathy has completely evaporated. The charming rogue the public once loved has been replaced by a man who seems at war with everything. His family, his country, and even his own reflection. Someone recently said, "If you can't take it, don't dish it out." And that seems to be the general mood. The pain happening inside him is showing on the outside. And it's a harsh reminder of the worst year William described 2024 to be. While William dealt with the cancer battles of both his wife and his father with icy discipline, with dignity, with silence, with duty, Harry was busy testifying in courts and trying to mask his thinning hair with clever combing or spray-on fibers. The contrast between the two brothers has never been sharper. One is emerging as a leader of steel. The other is seen as a man haunted by the choices he made. He is no longer the prince in a fairy tale. He has become a cautionary tale for anyone who thinks they can have the crown's perks without the crown's discipline. As we look toward the future, it's clear that a new kind of king is being forged in the fire of this conflict. Prince William has moved past the era of never complain, never explain. He is becoming a leader who understands that sometimes, to protect the whole, you have to cut away the parts that are causing the infection. His decision to strip Archie and Lilibet of their titles will likely be the defining act of his time as Prince of Wales. It sends a message that is both simple and powerful. You are either in, or you are out. There is no middle ground. No part-time royalty. No selling the crown's prestige for a California lifestyle. He is taking no prisoners and showing no mercy because he knows that the survival of the monarchy depends on it. The House of Windsor is moving forward, and it's doing so with a more sophisticated, determined demeanor. The story of Harry and Meghan will eventually become a footnote. A 21st century version of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, but with a modern twist. Social media, failed Netflix deals, commercial desperation. In the end, Archie and Lilibet will grow up as private citizens, far removed from the responsibilities and the glory of the institution their parents left behind. The relationship that they had, or could have had, with the institution they were born into will be dissolved, not by William's cruelty, but by their parents' actions. The resolution of this fairy tale isn't a happy reunion. It's a clean surgical break. The crown stays focused on service, while the California branch is left to find its own way in a world that is quickly moving on. What do you think about William's decision to take such a hard line against his brother's children? Is it a necessary move for the survival of the monarchy? Or has the family feud gone too far? Is the Australian retreat just another commercial gamble that's destined to fail? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your theories on where this story goes next. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the secrets of the palace. We'll see you in the next one.